Hello and welcome to the Boys Upstairs show. Today I'm joined for the first time by some in-studio guests. As always, we have Sean, and then we also have Cameron Williams and Anthony Rooney. Do you guys want to say anything?
Is this where I get to call out Logan Paul and Jake Paul for the next upcoming boxing fight? Because if so, I'd like to get that off my chest.
My name's Cameron, hoop enthusiast, sideline analyst. That's pretty much it.
I'm Sean.
All right, so last episode we talked a lot about the Sixers versus Hawks series. The reason we did that is because we are pretty informed about that series as we have been following it very closely.
No particular reason why.
And so we're going to start off the show by talking about Game 7. It was a 103-96 win for the Atlanta Hawks and a loss for the 76ers. And the talk of the sports world today, Cameron, was Ben Simmons. I'd like to get your thoughts, and then we'll open up the discussion.
Ben is terrible. I feel like this whole series, he's just been dookie. He hasn't been good in the last 3 to 4 games.
Do you want to elaborate with facts?
He's had probably no more than 12 points in the last 4 games. That's sad. To be the second best player on the team, allegedly. He averaged 14 points and 7 assists. The passing point guard averaged 7 assists in the whole series. Trae Young averaged 11, and he's a hooper. He just scores. But I think Ben's had enough. He needs to go. They need a true point guard, and Ben is just not a true point guard.
Yeah, so I would say I don't disagree that this series he was outplayed by Trae. Unfortunately, I think that most of the people who are talking shit about him today haven't really watched him as closely, or more than just this series, I would say. I think that they saw what he did this series, and that's their sample size that they can use to say that he sucks. And you fall into that category. And I think that in the regular season, he was aggressive and he was able to find the open man, but he didn't pass up easy shots just to find the open man. And he wasn't afraid to shoot because he didn't have the worry of the hack-a-ben thing going on. So, and that one possession that everyone's talking about last night, which we have right here, where he had an open lane, and they asked him about it after the game, and he was like, I felt like Gallinari was going to foul me from behind, so he passed it to Matisse. He was afraid in that moment to get an and one. You can't be afraid in that moment to, score and get an and one just because you're afraid to go to the free throw line. I understand that his free throw percentage is very bad, but if you want to be that guy in a Game 7, you can't, pass up an opportunity for your team to score when you need it the most. And we only ended up getting 1 point out of that because Thibault missed the first free throw. I think that the future of Ben is completely up in the air as far as being on 76ers. There's been a lot of talk about a C.J. McCollum for Ben trade, Anthony. Possibly Zach LaVine for Ben. Where do you think is the best place for Ben to go, and who do you think would help the Sixers most?
I think that the Zach LaVine trade would, because Zach's a young guy still. He can shoot. He's, point guard / shooting guard, and that's what the Sixers need. And Ben Simmons, obviously, he needs to go somewhere else to sort of figure it out on his own. Being a number 1 overall pick and you can't shoot, that's sort of inexplicable. But, yeah, Ben Simmons, I think if he went to, somewhere like the Bulls where he's sort of, the main guy on the team, then you can sort of start judging him there. But right now it's the Joel Embiid show, but Ben Simmons isn't the only problem that's on the Sixers right now. They got a lot of problems.
Sean, what are your thoughts?
On Ben Simmons?
Yeah, I mean, I think today Magic Johnson said it on Get Up. He said that Ben needs to go to a team where there's a veteran that can hold him accountable and help him with confidence and stuff like that. And I think that's exactly what has helped Devin Booker so much this year, having Chris Paul there, not only on the court but off the court, just how to be a professional, confidence, like instilling in him that he can do it. I think that right now Ben and Embiid are essentially the same age, and so they don't, like me and you aren't gonna like. I'm not gonna teach you how to be a basketball player if we're the same age because like it's just a seniority thing. You respect guys who have done it, and those guys being the same age and neither of them ever going to a finals. Like somebody like Chris Paul, who also hasn't gone to a finals, but has proved that he's one of the best point guards of all time. Devin Booker has to respect everything Chris Paul says. And I think that if Ben had somebody like that can help him get back to who he was, I think that that's the best thing for him. And I don't know if being in Philly with the fans and all the things that just happened in this series, like those aren't going to, like that memory's not going to go away. And he's going to have that monkey on his back. But if he goes to a new team, it's a fresh start. And as far as the Sixers, the CJ McCollum thing for me, the only problem with that is that we need a real point guard. And CJ McCollum's not a point guard, he's a shooting guard. So if that situation happens, then I don't know who's bringing the ball up. I guess Maxey. But
yeah, I'd be fine with Maxey.
I think a starting five of Maxey, McCollum, Danny Green, and Tobias and Joel. I don't know if that's
Where's
good.
Curry?
That's the other.
I think Curry was fine in this series.
I completely agree. I think he was huge, but I don't think Curry can play small forward. He's not tall enough. So that means Danny Green's coming off the bench, or we could put McCollum at the small forward, but I don't know if he's big enough either. So there's problems with the lineup. Daryl Morey is a very active GM, so I assume that moves will be made, and probably pretty quickly once the season ends. And so it'll be interesting to see. But as far as the Hawks go, I think that the fact that Trae Young had his worst game of the playoffs and they were still able to win shows that they have built the team in such a way that they can compete.
Who had the game of his life?
Yeah, you got to give props to him. Could be, and not enough people are talking about this, could be the best playoff performance by a Ginger of all time. I don't think anyone's talked about that yet. I'm trying to think, maybe Scalabrine. But yeah.
Representing.
Yeah. He's putting on for the Gingers, and I respect that. It's a little bittersweet, but they have a good team, and they have a good culture, and they have that nothing to lose mentality, and that can take you far. I don't know if they'll be able to beat the Bucks, but I also didn't think they'll be able to beat the Sixers, so you never know. But let's switch gears. Let's talk about Tobias. I feel like Tobias is not just as guilty as Ben, but he's up there as far as blame goes in that game. He went 8 for 24. He's a max contract guy. I don't think that he can just be swept under the rug because Ben played as bad as he did. When a max contract guy is giving you 8 for 24, and it felt like throughout the second half he missed probably 8 layups at point-blank range. You can't do that, especially in a Game 7. It's not going to work. And I feel like, just to try to bring it to the real world, if you were running a restaurant and 2 of your top 3 highest-paid employees decided to not show up on the biggest night of the year, your business would not be successful. It would suffer. That's essentially what happened to the Sixers last night. And, it might force them to blow the team up in a way, obviously keep Joel, but it's just a shame that a player as talented as Joel, who played on a torn meniscus and gave us everything he had, essentially had no help. Curry played well, but, Curry's not a number 2 on a championship team. He's a contributor on a championship team, but he can't be the number 2 guy, especially when he's, way less paid than Tobias and Ben.
The Sixers need to get rid of Tobias Harris more than they need to get rid of Ben Simmons. Just because, we've all said, Tobias Harris doesn't show up in any big-time games. And yesterday, I can name about 6 shots he missed that were easily makeable.
Yeah, and, it's just, it really comes down to more than anything the fact that all 3 of those guys are max contract guys. If Tobias was making what Furkan's making and he missed a couple layups, it's like, okay, you can't miss those. but it's not as bad as if you were a max contract guy. But he's making as much as he can make right now, and he's playing nowhere near as well as he should be playing. And if we move Tobias, that frees up a lot of room to try to bring in other guys.
Well, they almost, like, if you decide to keep Ben Simmons, you got to get rid of Tobias, and you got to try and find a small forward that, can sort of carry the load, and that might be able to take pressure off Embiid and take pressure off of Ben's shooting.
Yeah.
Whereas Tobias, like we said, he's just as guilty as Ben Simmons for not showing up.
I disagree with that.
You disagree with that, Cam?
Yeah. I think Ben, I feel like Tobias has played to where he should be able to play at. Like, he's the third best player on the 76ers. He's not meant to be dropping 20, 30 every single night he plays in the playoff game. That's Ben's job as a second player to get 20 and 10, get at least 25
Yeah,
every
no, I'm
single
not.
night.
I'm not arguing at all that Ben shouldn't be at the top of who's to blame, but it's not. I feel like everyone's talking about Ben because he can't shoot, which is completely valid. But at the same time, Tobias went 8 for 24. If you're a max contract guy, you can't go 8 for 24. If I got in the gym right now for a year, I feel like I could go 8 for 24.
Well, Tobias, I think, in the league is the worst max contract player in the league right now, and I couldn't even tell you who's close second.
What did Floyd say after Logan Paul fight? I'm the best legal bank robber in boxing. Tobias is the best.
Second.
Tobias is the best legalized bank robber in basketball.
Killing Tobias.
Here's the thing, though. Tobias, he put up numbers in the series. He had at least 2 to 3 good games where he put up.
He had huge
15
games.
and 20.
It doesn't matter. Game 7 is all that
entire
matters.
Series.
Game 7 is what matters. That's what you remember. Game 7 is what you remember.
So if that's the case, Ben sucked the whole season, and he gets to Game 7
Cam.
in Champions.
Everybody in America right now on sports radio and national radio is talking about how Ben sucks, which is I don't think is unfair. But I'm just also trying to say that Tobias is guilty as well. Because if Tobias went maybe 15 for 24, then, this game was close. So every shot mattered. Every one of those layups he missed mattered. And
Well, that's Tobias. We could go game by game. We gave Tobias the ball every time we were down and needed a clutch shot within the last 2 minutes. And I think Tobias, game 6, he made 2 free throws in the final 2 minutes, and those are the 2 most clutch shots I've ever seen him hit.
No, I agree. I also think that what people don't realize is that Embiid's playing on a torn meniscus. At the beginning of the game, we are feeding him the ball, he's going to work, and everyone's like, why aren't they doing this the whole game? It's because he's playing on a torn meniscus, and by the fourth quarter, it's not feeling the way it felt in the first quarter. You can't just go to him on the block every single possession, which a healthy Embiid we would be doing. So that's why we're trying to go to Tobias in the end of the game clutch situations, because he's more fresh and he's just not converting. And I don't know where that is fixed, but let's go to this video. I feel like we owe it to ourselves to watch it, because this right here just sums up Ben in the series. And it's unfortunate that at this moment, right here, he's past Gallinari, and Trae Young, who is half his size, is the only other person that's in the area. Ben could dunk on Trae Young 100 times out of 100 if he wanted to. Trae cannot stop him. And he's past Gallinari. So then he gets here. He said in his interview that he thought Gallinari was going to, prohibit his ability to get the shot up and foul him on purpose. You can see in this frame that he wasn't going to do that. He was too far behind him. Trae's not doing anything against Ben. So what does Ben decide to do? Let Matisse get jumped by both of these guys, and Matisse made 1 out of 2 free throws. So right now there's 3 minutes left in the game. It's a 2-point game. We get a dunk right here, maybe an N1 if he can make a free throw, then we're up 1. Instead, we're still down. And now it's just in his head that he can't shoot because he just passed that up, and the whole crowd's going crazy that he passed that up. As he was backing down Gallo here, the crowd was going crazy. They were like, he's going to shoot. He's actually going to go up. He's going to put a shot up. And he got here, and you could hear the crowd at this point where he passed it go, oh. They all expected him to shoot that, and he just didn't. And it's very, very unusual to see an NBA player go through something like this, because the whole point of the game is shoot the ball. And I'm not even talking threes or jump shots, but dunks, layups. Like, he's afraid to shoot those at this point. And I don't understand it. And I don't know if that's something that – because Shaq said it last night too. Because he said in his postgame, Ben did, that he was just going to accept the fact that it was on him that we lost and get better. And Shaq was like, after game 2, you got to realize that it's already, like, that's where you already have to be after 2 games. What are you going to do game 3? Like, you're going to fix it. Like, it took him the whole series to figure that out. He just never took shots or figured it out. So I don't know if that's something he's going to fix over the offseason, or maybe we get to the first game next year if we don't trade him, he's still not doing it. He's like, yeah, I'm still going to figure it out. It's like, at a certain point, you have to be accountable and actually put the shots up. And even if you miss, I feel like a lot of people in this game would have been happy if Ben tried to shoot this and missed the dunk, then instead of passing it and not even trying.
So, as a fan, who are you in a hurry to get rid of? Ben?
Well, first off, Cameron, I'm not a fan. I'm a journalist, and I do not have bias towards anybody, as all of us do. So
With the huge Embiid poster.
Yeah, that's cute.
I'm a fan. I have Kobe here. I have Carmen Electra, LeBron, Michael, Megan Fox, the guy from Spaceballs. So no affiliation, but as far as who I think we should get rid of first, it really just depends on the market. I don't know what Tobias would get out there in the market right now. I mean, he didn't have as bad of a series as Ben did, but he had a terrible Game 7, so that's the last taste that everybody has in their mouth. Ben's the second best defender in the league, according to the experts. He's the best in terms of he can guard 1 through 5, because Rudy can't do that. So, the package that everybody's talking about is Ben, Thibault, and 2 first-round picks. If you were to be a GM on another team, you get 2 guys who are both under 25, 26 years old, and that's 2 out of the top 5 best defenders in the league. And they're both young, and they're both under contract. And you also get 2 picks who could be just as good. For a team like Portland, and this might be wishful thinking because of Ben's stock going down, but if you're in the situation where, okay, we're in the West, we have tried for the past however many years to get by, and we can't get past second round or first round. They couldn't even beat the Nuggets without Jamal Murray. I think that they might need to look themselves in the mirror and be like, we might need to try to get rid of Dame and just try to build for the future when we might have a chance to actually compete, because they can't right now. So they either do that or they bring somebody else in to help Dame. But if they were to trade Dame, and to be honest, if I was the Sixers, I would trade Ben, Matisse, and the next 5 first-round picks. Like, we're all in right now. We need to not waste Embiid's prime. And if we lose, if we get Dame and we still can't win the finals, then, we tried at least. But this team right now clearly is not good enough to get to the finals, can't even beat the Hawks. And this is the first time the Hawks made the playoffs in a while. And we've been in the second round for the past however many years. So I don't know. I think it's up to whatever the other GMs are willing to take. I'm sure that Dale Murray is going to express interest in trying to move some guys. I love Matisse. I would not want to get rid of him. And I also love Ben. And I've been defending Ben for however many years now. And this is the first time that I've, we need to get rid of him mindset. And it's a shame because I think he's a good person. And I think that he wants to bring a championship to Philadelphia, but he can't, just be a good guy and not shoot the ball and me defend him. Like, he's a basketball player. So, I don't know.
Well, that's the thing, is that this series might have costed Philly a little bit more than, just losing. It really exposed Ben Simmons, and something that we might have been able to actually get out of him took place last year, whereas now they see that teams can foul Ben Simmons in the last, 6 minutes of the game till 2 minutes, and can basically get no points, or, you're giving up just 1 point because he can't shoot free throws. And nobody's going to want to trade, a really good player to get somebody like that, where ultimately he can cost you games in the final minutes.
100%. His value right now is at an all-time low. It's true, Cam. You can laugh as much as you want.
That's sad.
It is sad, but that's the reality that we are faced with currently. And I know that if there's ever a point, say that we don't trade or they don't trade him, if there was ever a point where Ben really needed to look himself in the mirror and be like, I need to start shooting, I feel like if this isn't it, then it's never going to happen. So this summer he said that he's going to not participate in Australia's national team for the Olympics because he wants to work on what he needs to work on. And so hopefully that means he's motivated. The reporters last night, I will say, in the post-game press conference, were not holding anything back. They were asking him some tough questions, and they were asking Doc some tough questions too. And Doc said, I don't know if Ben Simmons can be a point guard on a championship team. I will say that I agree with Doc. However, if I was Doc, I would 100% not have said that, just as far as the fact that you don't know if Ben's going to be around. And saying that makes it seem like you don't know if he's good. And that's not what you want your head coach to say.
Well, Embiid kind of threw Simmons under the bus.
Yeah,
too.
I don't know about that. I know that that's what all the headlines say, and all the clickbait wants you to believe that Embiid threw him under the bus.
It was the
He said
exact
that
scenario.
he said that there was a turning point in the game where Ben, which we just showed, where Ben didn't shoot that. I agree that that was a turning point in the game, but I don't think that is throwing somebody under the bus. I think if you asked Ben the same question, he would have said it. So I don't think that they're. I think that Ben and Embiid are fine as far as coexisting, personality-wise. I don't think that that's the issue. I think the issue is just Ben shooting shots and playing basketball. So here's some stats. 76ers were first in the East this year. Was that because Brooklyn's big three was hurt? Possibly. But Embiid was hurt for a long time as well, and we still prevailed. Could you imagine if Embiid wasn't in this series? We might have got beat by 40 points every game. Like, I don't know how we were able to maintain, or they were able to maintain the number one seed.
He's a whole offense.
Yeah, I mean, he was, I don't know. Eliminated in conference semis for the third time in the last 4 years. Last year we lost in the first round to the Celtics.
Do you
Swept.
put any blame on Doc Rivers for any of this?
The only thing I would say about Doc is the way that he subs a whole bench unit out there at the same time while the other team is keeping 2 or 3 starters out there on the court. That's what hurts us, because if we have 5 guys out there, one of which being George Hill, who's still new to the team and doesn't know how the offense works really, it's just a stagnant offense while the Hawks still have Gallinari or Huerter or, what's his name, Capella out there and Collins. Those guys aren't coming out. And the last game, our guys kind of stayed in there a little bit more, but the past couple of games, we've been going 10 deep. And teams don't do that in playoffs, especially Game 7. I love Dwight, I love Shake, and I love Maxey, but I don't know if those maybe Maxey, but I don't know if Dwight should have been in this game at all. I think Embiid he didn't play 7 minutes out of the 48. And he's playing on a torn meniscus, so that's a little bit understandable. But going 10 deep in a Game 7 is not something that can just be excused. And I think that that's the only thing I would say about Doc. It's not Doc's fault that Ben can't make free throws. It's not Doc's fault that Ben won't shoot a dunk when he has an open lane. Doc's pretty historically bad in Game 7s.
I will say he definitely did get outcoached by McMillan.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
Like,
No doubt.
You say that Ben Simmons' shooting's not his fault, but he said after Game 4, somebody asked him or Game 3 when they started fouling Ben Simmons and asked him why they didn't take him out, and he's like, "Oh, why would you take your superstar out of the game?" Like, well, he costed us the game. It's like you easily could have taken him out.
Yeah.
Put somebody in that, if they did get fouled, they could make free throws.
And at the time when he said that, I agreed with him in the sense that I didn't think it was going to get as bad as it would, or it did.
Yeah.
And I think that it was more than anything a confidence thing for Ben. If Doc would have said right there, yeah, you're right, maybe I should take him out. Then Ben's in his head thinking, well, maybe I'm not good enough to be in the game. But Doc stuck by him in that moment, and Ben still did
I'll
what he
give
did.
Doc Rivers the credit. Game 6, he did take Ben out, even after saying what he said, which a lot of people would not have. They just would have rolled with the punches.
Yeah, just for your own pride.
Yeah, but he did take him out, and we ended up winning the game.
Yeah. it's tough. You know, people are saying the Doc should be fired. I don't agree with that. We're the number one team in the East.
You gotta give a coach more than 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a coach for 1 year and you're the number one team in your conference, I don't think that's reason to be fired. Obviously, we should have won that series, but there are factors that are probably, you know, a precedent in NBA history. Having a guy like Ben who did what he did in this series, I don't think anyone's ever seen something like that before, especially with a guy that's as good as he is and is paid as much as he is, showing up like that or not showing up like that when we needed him. But let's talk about the Suns and the Clippers. Devin Booker is that guy. I said on the last episode that I didn't know if he could beat the Clippers without Chris Paul. I think that I did say that the Suns were my pick for the series as long as Chris Paul doesn't miss more than 2 or 3 games. Game 1, he proved me wrong, which I'm happy to see because I really like Devin Booker. And I don't know if the Clippers have any shot in this series. If, you know,
Well,
Kawhi's not playing, but Chris Paul's also not playing. I don't know which one of those two is going to be able to come back faster. But, you know, I just think that Devin Booker is really turning into a superstar. And I'll say this, just to tie it back to the Sixers game real quick. Devin Booker and Trae Young aren't the same age, but they're relatively close. Devin Booker's brand of basketball is infinitely more fun to watch than Trae Young, just from the standpoint of he can create shots, he can get his guy the ball, and he doesn't draw fouls every possession, it seems like. Trae Young was 2 for however many, 25 up until the last 5 minutes of the game. He made 1 3 and he made 1 layup or floater before that. Which, by the way, Ben does deserve credit for. He held him to, at the end of the game, Trae was 5 for 23. That's terrible. That's because of Ben. But Ben just didn't do anything on offense, so that's all people are going to remember. But Trae was essentially a non-factor in scoring in the Game 7. He's great at the pick and roll and getting Capella, but that's also because Embiid didn't want to get foul calls, so he was kind of letting that happen. But Devin Booker's brand of basketball is really fun to watch, and I think it's the closest thing to Kobe's game that we've seen. Stephen A. said that he is the next Kobe Bryant today. I wouldn't go that far yet, obviously. But this is his first playoffs, and this was his first game without Chris Paul, and he dropped 40 and a triple-double. You know?
First ever.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. So I think that the Suns have a great chance to win that series and have a great chance to win the finals, which would be awesome to see. I think the people of Phoenix deserve that after being pretty bad for ever. But, yeah, I mean, Clippers, I don't know when Kawhi is going to return. I don't know if that's out yet. I think it's just still out indefinitely. But they need him. And Paul George played well, too. They were dueling. So yeah, I mean it's not like Paul George completely didn't show up like Ben. He was doing his thing. It just wasn't enough. And the Suns have a good team. They're built well. Dario Saric, former Sixer on that team. Jay Crowder, who's been on every team basically. DeAndre Ayton's playing well, and they have a good group of guys. Cameron Payne too. So yeah, but. What do you guys think about Hawks Bucks?
I think the Bucks are going to sweep the Hawks.
You think so?
They don't have anybody that can match up against Giannis, and Chris Middleton, I think, can outshoot anybody on the Hawks.
Yeah.
And
maybe not Gallinari. That guy probably missed 1 shot the whole series.
But I mean, like, Clint Capella is their biggest guy, and
yeah,
he struggled against Embiid, and Giannis is just as good as Joel.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
I don't think Giannis is as good as his Embiid.
First off, I just want to say, out of respect for him, his name is Giannis.
I'm sorry.
Giannis.
both of you guys did the G.
My bad. But I still don't think he's as good as Embiid. He has no offensive bag.
I completely agree with that, but I think that he's saying that
just
Giannis,
in the paint.
Yeah,
like
Giannis is just too big and muscular. Capella's big, but he's not as strong as Embiid and Giannis.
He's not as good as the defensive player as.
Yeah, he's a great rebounder, but Giannis's game is completely downhill and in your face, and occasional back to the basket stuff, but it's more downhill. And they can work that. The Hawks can work that pick and roll pretty well, but I don't know if the Hawks or if the Bucks are gonna defend it as badly as the Sixers did. I don't know, for whatever reason we just could not stop the pick and roll. It was either Trey lobbing it up to Capella or Trey with the floater. Seemed like every time.
The Bucks got some good, like they got Drew Holiday's not a bad defense.
Drew Holiday's a good defender. I think he's first team all defense.
Giannis,
So is Ben. But
I don't know if Trey's gonna or Giannis. Sorry, I don't know if Trey's gonna be able to get any floaters over his
yeah,
arm reach.
yeah, I agree. They also have Brook Lopez,
Trey.
who's 7-footer who can knock down three pretty good. That'll be a good series. I would not be surprised if they got swept. But at the same time, you know, the Hawks are basically proving everybody wrong right now, so you never know what could happen. But, you know, I would pick the Bucks early prediction. And if it is Bucks versus Suns, what do you guys think about that?
I think the Suns are going to win the whole thing. I feel like they're a better in-depth team than most other teams, especially the Clippers. I mean, like, besides Paul George, without Kawhi Leonard, you're not going to have Nicholas Batum or, like, Rondo or Terrence Mann dropping 39 every single night. The Suns have people like Cameron Payne who just decided to be a beautiful basketball player in the postseason. They got Jay Crowder, DeAndre Ayton, who's also playing outstanding, and then Devin Booker just decided to be Kobe this whole entire year. So I feel like the Suns are going to go all the way.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Suns will pull it out, but to be honest, I'm done with basketball, so I'm probably not even.
But you're a basketball journalist. This is what you do. You have to talk about it.
I mean, I'd like to see Giannis win. He's gonna win one eventually. I mean, he's just too dominant of a player to not get at least one. And I'm a big D book guy too, so I mean, I'd like to see either one of them win, but I think the Bucks, they got that drive, and Suns are a young team, and I think they'll win one eventually. But
They're a young team, but they also have a guy in Chris Paul
yeah, who's
who
a good leader.
is in that AI Russell Westbrook, James Harden category of never won a finals but one of the best players ever, and is hungry, and now he has a chance with essentially a wide open NBA. I think that a Bucks Suns series would be fun to watch, but I think the Suns win that one. And I think that's all we have for today's show. It was a pleasure, Cameron, Anthony, for you joining us. Anytime you guys want to come on, more than welcome. Sean,
We'll be back for sure. Don't even worry about it.
good analysis from Sean as always. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. It would have been a lot more fun if the Sixers won, I could tell you that. I would have been much more upbeat, but, you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles. So, thank you again, and enjoy the game. When is the next game? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, enjoy the game tomorrow, and have a good night.
Hey.
End it.